All
Good.
right.
Okay. Ask away.
Yeah, let's jump right in. So again, thank you for taking the time. Big fan of the series, and you're a great addition to the cast. It's always kind of scary when you bring in new people after you've kind of grown accustomed, but you fit right in. It was wonderful having you on board.
Thank you. Thank you.
So my first question is, how did you get into acting? Was it something that was a family thing, or especially being in Sydney?
Yeah, well, I actually grew up in New Zealand. I grew up in New Zealand and I was very young, and I was about 10. And this is a very funny story, which I've actually only told once. And I was in school assembly, and this boy called Matthew Rice. It's crazy how you remember kids' names from school, right? He got up and he sang a soprano, like some song. I got the giggles. I couldn't stop laughing. It was not so naughty. And so when he'd finished singing the song, right, I was like crying with laughter. I was being a brat. And the principal looked over and said, Simone Kessell, stand up. If you think this is so funny, stand up. So I stood up in the middle of assembly. And they said, if you think that this is so funny, next week you will prepare something and do it to the school. And I was like, okay. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I created a character, a New Zealand Julia Child character, and I got up on stage and I did this whole sketch comedy routine of throwing together, food and putting together to making something. And it was such a hit that each week I would do a different recipe at school assembly. And I was like, I like this acting thing. And then I got cast as the lead in the school show. And as they say, the rest is history. And here I am, still going 30 years plus later.
That's incredible. Was there one big jump after that? Or was it like a series of small steps?
No, it was I ended up at 15 being cast in a television series over there called Homeward Bound. And then from there I did many other television series, and at 18 I got my own series. See, this was all in New Zealand. So, I'm sort of unknown to anybody outside this very small pond. And then I did a lot. And then suddenly this brilliant casting agent who is no longer with us, her name is Maura Fay, she came to New Zealand to give, and she was from Sydney, and she came to give, a lecture. And I went to that, and she said, you need to leave here and you need to come to Australia. We could do with you over there. And then I moved to Australia that year, and then just worked doing theatre. Obviously there were dry times, but sort of starting over again, because in New Zealand I was a big fish in a very small pond. And then I moved to Australia and it was overwhelming, and I got opportunities to do a whole lot of things, from guest roles to television shows, and then eventually came back and forth to the US and to pilot season, the famous pilot season that once was. And would come and go, and wasn't really successful in pilot season because I don't think they sort of knew where to place me, because I wasn't Latina and there weren't any roles for Polynesian, Pacific Island, Māori actresses. So I sort of fell through the gaps a bit there, and it didn't make sense to me to be going up for Hispanic roles. And then, so I would always come back to Australia. At that time, I was based in Australia and doing bits and pieces. And then eventually when I moved to America, in like 2005, I think it was, then I started really sort of regularly working. So I was fortunate enough to be able to have Australia, New Zealand, and America to work. And then, I got sort of bits and pieces, and here I was still doing it, and it's crazy. It's just the life of a working actor. And, I love what I do. And I always say, when you start getting bitter or over it or angry at it, then it's time to give it away. And I'm not even close to that yet. So I love it.
Fantastic. Well, the good thing is your trajectory just keeps, you don't know where it's going to lead. It's still rising. So that's amazing.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. I know. I'm definitely not an overnight. That's for sure. It's sort of been a long time
overnight's
coming.
Boring.
Yeah, it's boring.
It's much more rewarding to work for it and then finally get to reap those rewards.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and that's how I feel. I sort of, I've worked really hard, so it's lovely to be a part of this conversation.
So when you were approached about Yellowjackets, how was Lottie's Journey pitched to you?
It wasn't. When I was I was told nothing. In fact, I thought she was a psychiatrist. I wasn't sure what she was, and they were very they kept their cards close. So it wasn't till the notes came back. I had done one audition, and then the notes came back, and they were like, okay, so we just, they gave me a few more sort of like tidbits, and then I eventually did another audition and then got the role. And obviously I was desperate to know more, and then I had to wait a few weeks to actually get a script, and I inhaled that script. I was like, oh my God. And then eventually I got to, once I, done the deal and everything, I got to go, flew to Vancouver, and then finally got to sit down with Ashley and Bart, and Drew and Jonathan Lisco. And that was, I had honestly, like a nerd, I had pages of questions, and I sat there and just being, Simone, be cool, ask the questions, get the answers, like just do your job. And of course they were generous and kind and excited.
Do you remember any of those questions?
Yeah, I do. I remember asking a couple of things like, is she genuinely wanting to help people at her retreat, or is it just a scam? And they looked at me and they were like, genuine. She genuinely wants to help people. And that was a really big note for me, which means she's not a fraudster. Like it means that if you joined, she would try to help you. She's not just doing it for, a compensation or a lifestyle or anything. She genuinely wants to help people. And that was such an interesting note to me, because then I could go forth and be genuine with the healing, so to speak, that Lottie was offering her acolytes. So, there were things like that weren't in the script, basically. Yeah,
which is great. So I was, kind of touched upon what I was heading is, I was online reading reactions to Lottie, and I was amazed by the love of your work and the character. It was tweet after tweet of this, who the F is Lottie Matthews? I don't know if you've seen it, but there's just like this kind of thing going through Twitter and Reddit and elsewhere, where there's these threads that just are, who the F is Lottie? And I was wondering, who do you think she is?
Yeah, no. That's a really great question, and weird thing, I haven't been asked that. I think there's many masks to Lottie. I think, I sort of played her in my notes 1, 2, and 3. And I was very definitive in Lottie 1, Lottie 2, and Lottie 3. So Lottie 1 was the guru that you saw standing on the stage holding hands with her acolytes and teaching and healing, when in her mind healing. That was Lottie 1, the public figure, the actress. Lottie 2 was behind closed doors, like working out where she's going, who she really is, the caftan off, where she's really, the psychiatrist scenes, the kind of human being, and Lottie 3 was the complete undoing, the one who was unraveled, who was terrified, who was in visions and PTSD. And, there were variations of that 1, 2, and 3. And so, given the arc that we see with Lottie from the beginning to the finale, now that we can talk about it, I had to really place where I was playing her throughout it. And obviously when you film, you're out of sequence in the actual episode. So I had to be really careful and mindful of how I played Lottie going through. And that was kind of interesting, because I wanted to have her real, but the poor thing, she's just in so much pain. And it's really evident when she draws the card, and she's hoping for the queen. She wants to be put out of her misery. She's like, again, because she's done, and so when you get into that mindset, I tried to imagine somebody on that ledge, and I mean, even thinking about that makes me want to burst into tears. If you get to that stage that you're like, I'm done, I can't do this any longer. And to me, that just sort of, made her just shake ever so slightly in that, and be very raw while sort of, yeah. So yeah, I still can't explain to you who she really is, because she is this beautiful, sort of like LED light window with all these different colors coming through. Yeah, that's how perfect. I would describe her. Yeah.
Because you don't want a character that can be defined so easily. the best answers I get whenever I ask a question similar to that is something that takes a half an hour to answer. And you're like,
oh, and then I just did.
yeah, well, no, it's perfect. You know her, and you know that you don't know her enough to to give me like a 10-second elevator pitch as to who she
Yeah.
is. So that's exciting. And it's exciting for viewers because you get to say, okay, we're going to see a lot more. We're going to get to explore her in seasons to come, which is wonderful.
Yes, 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 I do. I hope so. I hope they don't just lock her in a padded cell and throw away the
Oh,
key. I think, and even if they do, we do see a Lottie institutionalized. That's kind of incredible as well. Like maybe it's Misty who breaks her out as an orderly or something. I don't know. Who knows? But
there's no
I
way
have
she's
no
gonna be
idea. I'm
gone.
just streaming this.
There'd be
I
an
hope
uproar.
not. There would be
Oh,
an
no, it
uproar
couldn't
now
happen.
that I hear there's a whole lot of Lottie love online for sure.
Yeah, it'll switch from who the F is Lottie to something even worse.
Yeah, where the
So
F is Lottie.
yeah, there you go. Bring her back now.
Yeah.
So she says the line about not being worried that she's ill. She's worried about that she's never been ill. And do you lean in one direction or another as to like in terms of her mental health, or if it's something supernatural going on here? And if so, how does it affect how you play her?
Wow. Because supernatural is so foreign to me as Simone, I chose to go with the other, with mental health, because when she says, I don't know if I've even been ill, we clearly see this woman as a broken bird. We see that she is really coming undone. And we see that she's, and apparently a lot of people who are so distressed and in a tormented state of mind don't believe that they're ill. And so I went with that her mental health was rising to the top, and she was absolutely really kind of reeling in it. And yeah, because then I thought, you know what, I'll give you guys that and you can take that, and if you want to edit in the supernatural element to it, then Godspeed. But for the most part, I sort of played her as somebody who was coming undone at the seams for sure, and she couldn't keep it together, and it was
Sure.
terrifying. Yeah.
You found that way to connect with her in some way that you
Yeah,
could
because
process
I couldn't
better.
connect. Yeah, I could process that much better because I couldn't do it if I knew that it was a supernatural side of things, because I wasn't quite sure what that is. Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
finale was explosive. So much happened. I wish we had a few hours to talk, but we don't. So I'll just be more broad. But how do you feel the events of the finale and the season have changed Lottie?
She was definitely embedded in my pores when I finished shooting that finale. Like, it took me a few weeks to wind down from it. I myself had a bit of PTSD and a bit of heartbreak, and obviously the loss of the Natalie character, who on and off screen I adore. So that was confronting, and I think for all of us, and Juliet knows that's how we all feel. We just love her dearly, but it was more of the fact that, we handed our performances to Karen Kusama, who really took that gift, and, but she had so many gifts in that episode to receive and then turn into a narrative and serve it as a banquet, to all the viewers. And so, and I really see that episode as a banquet, because you're like, no, I'm not going to go with the fish, but I think I might go with the cheese, like there's so much in that episode. And I just think what she did with it was really wonderful. And I need to watch it again, because I know there'll be things I've missed. I mean, that's a hard task to put all of those big beats in a finale and just tie it up and then say, there you go, so it's very easy for people, if people don't like the finale, to sit there going and complain, but they have no idea the work and that went into that behind, off camera. Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned a kind of a dinner party. If you were, it seems she has no problem taking the lives of her friends, or kind of offering them up. which reminds me, don't have her plan my dinner party. But if you were to plan one with only one of the Yellowjackets squad, who would it be and why?
As the character or as the person?
The character.
The character. Who would I have for tea? Lottie would invite. I think Lottie would
Oh, no, I'm
invite.
sorry. You can do it as you. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Which-
Simone?
Yes. Yes.
Simone I would invite. I think I always say Melanie, like I would take, because Melanie and I know each other so well and it's easy and we could be in our slippers and our bathrobes, because it's just easy with Melanie and we drink the same wine. So that's lovely. But now I think for this dinner party, I might invite Lauren, because her and I are still the newbies. We're the new girls at high school. And Lauren is she's sort of holistic and country. And I still want to get to know her better. So I think I'd have a dinner party with lovely Lauren.
I like it. Sounds great.
And
If you
Ben
need a
and
third,
Lottie
let me
too. Yeah, please come along.
I'm not that picky with wine. Are there qualities of Lottie that you'd want to explore or that you're looking forward to exploring in upcoming seasons?
There are. I mean, again, I sort of really did my homework on the Lottie in season 2. And so I think, I mean, how lucky this would be for me, how blessed I would be if the new Lottie from season 3 is presented. Who is she going to be? And again, I will have to place, all the other characters seem very like what we see with Van is what we get, right? That's what we get. With Shauna, with Misty, with everybody, they're characters. But with Lottie, she's this absolutely kind of wave that we don't know where we're going to get and what we're going to get, and she has sometimes a fire in her belly, but she has this absolute fragility to her. So I'm not sure of what the present day Lottie they're going to take and then craft into an institutionalized Lottie. Maybe she's a real estate agent. I don't know. I've got no idea where we're going to find Lottie after this season. And so I think, again, I'll have to go back to the drawing board with her and create new choices for her. And is she on her medication? Does she have a shaved head? I don't know.
That's the exciting thing is you don't know. She's going to be going through treatment, and then what is going to be the result? Because after her last treatment, she was kind of a new person. Maybe she's going to have another shift.
That's exactly that. That's exactly it. I didn't think of it like that. But yes, maybe this new treatment, whatever it is going to be, could shift her into another mask. Maybe it's yet another Scooby-Doo mask that she does. Maybe it's something else. I don't know. And I have no idea. I haven't spoken to anybody. So when I get that script, I'll let you know, Stephen.
Fantastic. She's kind of like a stained glass window, there's all these parts and you don't know which one you're going to be looking through.
I hadn't thought of her like that, but she really is, like
well, you've inspired that idea. So it's like,
yeah. And I love that. Like, I haven't said that before, but when you think about it, how when the sun moves and the light sort of forms new color. So that's how I see Lottie now. And
very exciting.
Special. Yeah.
Nice?
Nice?
Like I said, I enjoyed all of your work this season. And I look forward to seeing a lot
Thank
more.
you.
I just want to wrap up with a very quick question. 3 words. I know after this discussion, it seems tough, but 3 words to describe Lottie.
Love, light, tormented.
Fantastic. Perfection.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you for your
honey.
time. It was a
Thank
very
you so
enjoyable
much.
conversation. I really liked it.
Wasn't it? Really lovely to talk. Thank you so much, Stephen.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a great night.
Take care.
Or a great morning.
Bye. Great morning. Bye, honey. Bye.
Bye.